This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief Sierra 117, with a shout out to the Xbox Expansion Pass. Keep your heads up during this time of isolation. Stay positive. Play some games. Most importantly, finish the fight. Thanks for listening to XEP. Master Chief, out.
Welcome one, welcome all to episode 112 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Sunday, December 12th, 2021. I am your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost. In this episode, we'll look back at some of the major announcements from this past week's Game Awards. We'll be talking about Halo Infinite's arrival and critical reception for its campaign. And then we'll be talking with Ulf Hartelius, the game director for the upcoming title, The Gunk. Enjoy. Yet another week of gaming is upon us and behind us. Welcome to XEP, discussing all things in the Gamerverse as they pertain to the Xbox ecosystem. And as I am wont to do each and every week, I like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made my gaming week better. And this week, the words of kindness go to someone who is unnamed, who asked to be unnamed, but was kind enough to check in on me. I had a tumultuous week where I should have been celebrating Halo's launch and enjoying the Game Awards. Unfortunately, my dog was in dire emergency straits. She is okay now and doing much better, but she had an allergic reaction to some medicine. And so we had some very scary moments where we quite seriously almost lost her. And several people reached out, including one person who stood just above the rest in their check-in and making sure that I was okay, but they did ask to be unnamed. And so I wanted to thank you for that. I appreciate you very much for checking in. I know I was supposed to be enjoying a bevy of game announcements, and there is plenty to talk about in this past week, but it was really nice to get some perspective, be able to take a step back, and then with hindsight and knowing that she is, of course, safe now, gather my wits about me and kind of reflect on what I was taking seriously and what I wasn't. And those are humbling moments in life that I think we all often get, or rather maybe not often get, but get from time to time to put things into perspective. And that said, I gained a bit of perspective this week. Here's hoping I'm able to stick with it. I've got a lot to look forward to in the upcoming weeks. Next week, I'm going to the Halo Championships with my best friend Kev. Very excited to see an esports event for the first time. It's being held in Raleigh, North Carolina. We got VIP passes, so we'll be taking a tour and just seeing what it's all about. I don't know that we are going to stick around for the whole 3 days. I don't know that I want to sit in a room and watch Halo for 3 days straight. But for the experience, to see kind of how it all is going down and just know what it's all about, I'm really excited for that. And maybe they got some skins for Halo Infinite right there. As a non-Rockstar drinker, I'm a little light on these skins as everybody's showing off of late, and so maybe there's some of those pro teams, they pass a few skins my way. We'll see. Anywho, guys, plenty of gaming news. Let's get into it. Well, the Game Awards were held this past weekend, and Jeff Keighley's announcement show was a big hit. People seem to really be into it. I myself did not get to watch it live, but I did check out the recaps. I believe It Takes Two won big awards, Joseph Ferris's game, which was exciting for them. Congratulations to them. I know that the award show has mixed meaning throughout a lot of the gaming verse. And for my part, I had to kind of consume it by way of recaps. And that kind of boiled down for me into announcement videos. I was really looking more at the trailers for the upcoming games, which isn't exactly in the spirit of a gaming award show, but it really feels like that's the point of this now. And there's a balance in that. I think that's an often discussed topic and not one I'm really going to get into this time. But many people wrote in, including Famous Seamus, asking me just what my favorite announcements were from this week and also my overall thoughts on the show itself. Famous Seamus, by way of consuming it via recap, it seems like the show was fairly well received. A lot of people pretty happy with it and pleased with what was presented there. For my part, I was not overly enamored. Like, I watched a little bit of it live and then had to transition away from it for a bit. it didn't really it didn't click for me this year. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was the controversy surrounding the panelists or Activision. I don't know if it was a matter of, the conversations that kind of devolved when it came to Forza and Halo Infinite being included. And then of course, was that because of my own bias of really enjoying those two games and having a lot of experience with those franchises and being confused at the snub and the timing and such, and whether or not it is a snub. And so my thoughts overall kind of go back to the conversations I think we've been having for weeks. Is the relevancy, is it important? It absolutely is relevant, it absolutely is important, but in what ways and how can it better be consumed? I think we, as a gaming community, for all the strife and frustration and the calling out of toxic actions throughout the gaming industry, I think we also owe Jeff Keighley quite a bit of praise every single year as he puts this together. He brings eyes to the world of gaming. He spotlights different games that may not otherwise get it. And you can argue any day of the week, anyone can argue any day of the week, that he could do a better job of this, that, and the other. But I can tell you, in my profession at the moment, I'm spread so thin that I'm giving it my absolute best every single day. And sometimes it's not good enough. And it's still the best I can do in those moments. And to put together an award show after doing a digital one last year, I think there's praise to be offered in that. And we did get a number of announcements. He had said prior to the show that he had several announcements on the Elden Ring level. And I think, unfortunately for me, that set an expectation that was not to be won and not to be handled there. I didn't feel like that was the case. I'm not even a big Elden Ring fan, though I will tell you, listeners, I'm coming around. I'm coming around on it. I'm kind of there. Like, I am excited for Elden Ring now. I'm not sure what happened, what changed. Somehow, some of my cast co-op partners, Ainsley Bowden and Joseph Moran, have me excited for this game. I don't get it, but here I am. Here I am. Nonetheless, I think that set an expectation for me I wasn't overly prepared for. Some of my expectations were met. I did see a Hellblade 2 trailer, and you and several others asked my favorite trailers from it. I loved the Hellblade 2 trailer. I thought that was a fantastic display of the direction that game is going. By any stretch of the imagination, you have to be impressed with just what Ninja Theory is putting together there and how they're growing that franchise. And it looks to be a major big hit. Senua looks great. The audio design was incredible. I encourage all of you guys, for all these trailers I'm discussing, go back and watch them in 4K. That's how you should be consuming these things to really understand what next-gen fidelity might offer for us. But Hellblade 2, it impressed. I thought the art design continues to be impressive. The music from Heilung just seems to be wonderful. I really want to see just what happens with Hellblade 2. I want to know if it's going to be the God of War contender. Like, is it meant to be that? Or is it meant to be something on its own entirely, like Senua's Sacrifice was? And so there's a lot of questions for me surrounding Hellblade 2. But if I were to be blunt, now that Halo Infinite is out of any of the games that we know are in production from Microsoft, Hellblade 2 is the one I most anticipate. Forza and Halo were my big ones. Those are the ones I'm so excited. Hellblade 2 would kind of fall after that and be on that State of Decay 3. Redfall and Starfield don't do it for me right now. Maybe they will, right? Like, we all change our minds as we go, but I've seen nothing from Starfield that would suggest I would like it, because I'm not really into many of Bethesda's like Fallout and Skyrim style games. But like, will it be? I don't know. And so in that realm, we haven't seen anything from Perfect Dark or Avowed or Fable to really sell us on gameplay. And so Hellblade 2 is my most anticipated, followed by State of Decay. And so I was really pleased to see that trailer there, and it was a good vibes. You have to be excited for what Ninja Theory is putting together there. The sound design, man, so good. So good, man. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. The other trailers that I was just really into, Wonder Woman. Oh man, as a DC fan, I loved the idea that we're getting a Wonder Woman game from Monolith, who just perfected that Mordor aesthetic when they did Shadow of Mordor and the Nemesis system. So excited for that, knowing that this Wonder Woman game is in Themyscira, so the art design and the style already lends itself to matching Mordor. And then that it too will have a Nemesis system. They'll be able to explore, most likely, this is me inferring based on a very short tease, they'll be able to explore Greek pantheon, given that it isn't Themyscira. We'll probably see Ares and several other of the gods and goddesses that might be relevant in that world. Really excited for that. Really excited for that. Also, totally dope that it's Wonder Woman. I still want my Superman game. I still want my Flash game. But cool that it's Wonder Woman. Would not have seen that coming. I would have expected Superman. I would have expected like Green Arrow to, piggyback on Batman's style of combat. But here we go. Wonder Woman. I'm there. I'm excited for it. I think that is a great character. And kind of like Hellblade 2 in the sense that having another strong female protagonist in the world of gaming alongside Perfect Dark, alongside Horizon Forbidden West and Horizon Frontier. I forgot the first ones. Zero Dawn. Great. I love it. More diversity, more characters brings more people into gaming, and then more people that are into gaming mean better for the industry, and more people make games. It's a cyclical thing, and it's only getting better. I love that. So I was excited by that one. And then also in the DC realm, man, somehow, some way, Suicide Squad looked amazing. Nothing prior to the Game Awards had me excited. I was terrified of Suicide Squad. So excited for Gotham Knights. That is my most anticipated for next year. But like, Suicide Squad had done nothing for me. And I mean, absolutely nothing. I don't even want to play as the bad guys. I want to be the hero all the time. But this trailer, oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I'm in. I'm in for Suicide Squad. Still, as I said, I want my Superman game. But man, oh man, what a cool trailer. Seeing the abilities that they were making use of, watching the Flash talk junk, seeing Captain Boomerang and King Shark be relevant and cool was surprising to me, right? Like those two characters to me are like fun fodder, and they were relevant and dope. And I'm excited to see what they do with this game. And I hope it paves the way for more superhero games in the DC verse, because man, Gotham Knights is my most anticipated. I cannot wait to be Nightwing. Cannot wait to ignore Jason Todd entirely. I'm stoked for this one, and I'm excited to see DC games being relevant, right? Like that's really cool. Rock on. I want to see more of that. More of that, please, for sure. Other announcements, Alan Wake 2 at the Game Awards. I think anybody that has been following the story of Control and has been checking out the DLC with Control Ultimate Edition, and then, of course, recognizing that there was an Alan Wake remastered, and some of the hints that they've been laying down on social media, we all knew that Alan Wake 2 was in production, something they were working on, and it's within that universe, and it's separate from Control 2. Alan Wake 2 looks to be a survival horror game. Sam Lake was at the Game Awards and discussed just that. To me, that was really exciting because Alan Wake is a wonderful, fantastic world. Having recently played through the remaster, I realized so much about what I like about it. And Remedy seems up to the task, given how impressive the work on Control Ultimate Edition was and what they did as far as next-gen stuff. And the trailer looking as so high fidelity and beautiful as it did. I'm excited for this. Also, a survival horror game. Really dig that. A survival horror game made by a Western studio is going to be really fun to watch. I think we've had a lot of Eastern studios making things, a lot of Resident Evil element style, like influences. And then there's the one that's being made from Bethesda that is Ghostwire Tokyo, I want to say. So I'm excited for a survival horror game made by a Western studio and just to see how that plays out as well. I don't know if that's an arc or narrative that anyone else is taking. It was just something that kind of mildly occurred to me as I was watching it. And cheers to it. Like, I want to see more Alan Wake. That's a great universe. I loved Alan Wake and Control. And so it's going to be really cool to see kind of what happens with that. I cannot imagine that game is coming out anytime soon. Same with Wonder Woman. Like, those games are 2023 at best, likely 2024 for sure. The other big trailer was Star Wars Eclipse. Now, this one had one of the coolest trailers I have seen for a Star Wars game. And then at the very end popped Quantic Dream. I don't think I'm alone in having trepidation about that. I was like, yes. I don't know about this one. It's an action adventure game. So that's cool. Let's see. Famous Seamus wrote in specifically on this Star Wars Eclipse game. And he says, personally seeing that Quantic Dreams is developing Star Wars Eclipse immediately killed my anticipation for the game. What are your thoughts on this? Honestly, imagining David Cage, who I personally think is overrated, wannabe filmmaker hack, along with being a sexist, homophobic ass, is being involved in a game like this over someone like Amy Hennig just makes my blood boil. Hard to argue a lot of David Cage's failings as a game maker, and while I can't off the top of my head remember some of the homophobic elements, you never steered me wrong on that, Famous Seamus, and so I believe you. And yeah, I've never been one for Quantic Dreams games. They are not my jam, and I've never been really truly interested in them. My anticipation was also killed when I saw Quantic Dream pop up there. Knowing all of the Star Wars stories that can be told, having just played Chorus and thinking what a Rogue Squadron game could be, having played Jedi Fallen Order, and then seeing the opening of this trailer, thinking it was Jedi Fallen Order 2. And then, of course, Battlefront 2 being as good as it was, and the recent news that Battlefront 3 was scrapped. I was bummed, right? Like I was straight up bummed, and then you add the Amy Hennig elements into it. And it's just like, man, what a bummer. That said, much like the good people at Activision, like the people I'm thinking like Belinda Garcia and some of the people that worked really hard on Vanguard, who have seen their work with Vanguard just get trashed because of higher ups. I have to wonder how the people at Quantic Dream are feeling about that. They're probably very excited to have the Star Wars franchise. They probably are aware of David Cage's reputation. That's probably the best way to put that, but I don't think it's nearly on the same level. So I think we owe it to them to see how it unfolds and to pay very close attention and hold them accountable. Activision and Cyberpunk have taught a lot of lessons in the gaming space and in the development side and how employees should be treated. EA, of course, no strangers to this. Any venture into a Jason Schreier article will tell you more about any number of companies like Ubisoft and EA that have these issues. Man, it's frustrating, but I think we owe it to ourselves to keep holding people accountable for it and make our voices heard by way of money spent and in social media. And that's an important thing that we as gamers can do. The caveat being, how do you support the developers that are good and hardworking and just trying to make art while you hold the companies accountable? And that's a fine line that never really gets a definitive answer. It's always going to be case by case, and that's frustrating. There's my alarm. And sorry about that. I'm sure that came through the audio. That's my alarm suggesting that I need to sit down for my interview with Ulf Hartelius, who is the game director for the Gunk. He and I are talking in a few minutes, so that's kind of fun. I'm really excited about that one. But yeah, apologies for that if it came through the mic. I'm kind of just going by the seat of my pants this week, for sure. Let's go. One more thing that I saw at the Game Awards that I really liked was the Halo trailer. Goodness gracious, the live action series for Halo on the back of Halo Infinite's extremely fun campaign. And I'm not doing a review for the Halo Infinite campaign. I wanted to kind of make that known. I'm doing a review for Chorus, which I already did. I'm sorry. I'm doing a review for the Gunk. I did a written review for Chorus over at seasongaming.com, which I hope you guys will check out. I want to just enjoy Halo Infinite for the moment. I'm playing it on Heroic, and I'm playing through the campaign. It is way harder than I would have expected Heroic to be, but I'm having an absolute blast. The writing is top notch. There's a lot that you can do in this world. I'll tell you more. I want to talk more about it after I consume it more, for sure. And there's a lot of focused reviews on the internet, and I don't need to add to that conversation yet without having finished it, but I'm taking my time and playing this slowly at a pace that I'm enjoying, and I love it. I'm absolutely loving it, for sure. Everyone should be playing this game to see what it's about. I love it, for sure. But on the back of that, and to the point I'm originally making, the Halo live action trailer looked really good. I got vibes of The Expanse, which shout out to The Expanse, getting a game from Telltale. Really cool for that. I got Expanse vibes from this new Halo. We were seeing a lot of lore elements from the books, like the Kig Yar facilities that called the Rubble. We saw a lot of really cool stuff in this trailer for those that are interested and those that weren't. I think you're looking at a good, cool story. So I'm anxious to see how this plays out. I also like, and I'm being serious here, that it's on its own story. It's not tied into the game's story. It'll have similarities and mimic it, but it's not like canon for the games and the books. So it could be its own thing, and that's awesome. I'm a big fan of that. I think it's important that things can stand on their own, and when they have integrated universes, there needs to be a clear collective vision. And right now, the games need to be able to focus on themselves, particularly with Infinite being a platform with more campaigns to come. So that was really, really fun. Also, hey, a Star Trek game is coming. I'm very excited for that. I love Star Trek because I'm a big old nerd. There's a Star Trek game coming, and it looks like down the line I'll have an interview with that team. They're going dark for a little bit, but I'm very excited to chat with that team once they do kind of open up to make themselves available once again. Because how about it? All right, Game Awards, good show this year. Thank you to Jeff Keighley for making them. Keep the conversations and holding people accountable. That's important for sure. Let's transition to just a few other small news pieces from this week.
This is David Bateson, the voice of Agent 47, and you're listening to the Xbox Expansion Pass.
Well, Game Pass for PC is getting a rebrand, renamed now to be rebranded as PC Game Pass. This is a new thing to remove the Xbox moniker from Game Pass for PC, now just called PC Game Pass. It seems to make it more simplified and a little less confusing for PC gamers. Of course, all the day and date stuff that goes into Game Pass Ultimate will be available for PC, and that's a lot of titles coming out over this next year. Of course, Forza Horizon and Halo Infinite also dropped into there as well. It's probably a smart move as PC gamers are contending with Steam and Epic Game Store, and then of course Microsoft launchers as well. Having Game Pass for PC is awesome, but PC Game Pass makes more sense than throwing the Xbox name in there and making you think that you will or won't need to have a certain box or subscription, that kind of thing. It's a little bit more clear messaging. However, the messaging does include the Xbox symbol, so cool enough. Not really relevant to me as I'm not a PC gamer, but I think anything to streamline bringing people into these day and date games is good for the brand. So bravo to them for that. I like the rebrand there. That was a small topic coming out this week. A couple other small topics here. Scorn has been delayed into October of 2022. Scorn is a thing still. I thought that game was likely canceled by now at this point, given that it was supposed to launch with the Xbox Series X. But, here we are. Game's delayed into 2022. No surprise here, given that it's December, but looking like it's going to be in October. So not a bad move, I guess. It looks gross. So having it in October with horror games would be kind of cool. It certainly is atmospheric, and who can argue that by that time we'll need a good solid first-person shooter, and that maybe Scorn by then is just that. Who knows? Equally fascinating to me in the first-person shooter space was Crossfire X, a game that has been maligned and pretty dark in terms of news over the past year or so. Having a first-person campaign, not a first-person, a single-player campaign developed by Remedy, and then the multiplayer developed by Smilegate, something that we played a beta in when the Xbox, I want to say last summer, in summer of 2020, we played a beta for. Looks like Crossfire X finally does have a release date coming out on February 10th. Why they chose February, I have no idea. Why not just go to March, give it a little more time? Nonetheless, they did show a new trailer for it. The campaign looks great. The multiplayer, of course, will be free to play. And you got to think that with Remedy in charge of the storytelling, you might have a good campaign to play for sure. And then equally fascinating, will that time, that February window, be a smart time to drop a multiplayer military shooter, given that, Call of Duty, nobody's interested. Battlefield 2042, broken as can be. And that Halo Infinite has yet to fix its battle pass system. Most people will have max battle passes well before the holidays. Is February going to be a great time for people to jump over to Crossfire while they wait for more Halo content in the first-person shooter space? Have to wonder, maybe it's a win for them. They've got an opening there, given that there's no military first-person shooters that are interesting. If they cleaned up a lot of their issues, hey, I'm in. I liked the gameplay well enough of Crossfire X for a free-to-play. If they, polished and really came out with something special, why not? Why not make that a hit for the year? Apex did that. A surprise drop early in the year, and then people were in. So I'm interested in Crossfire X, more curiosity based, I guess, than anything else. But I don't know, why not? Why not? I'm interested in that. I'll check that one out for sure. And then, of course, when you have Remedy in charge of your single player campaign, I mean, they made Alan Wake and Control, and I just talked all about that. So interesting to see that. I don't think, and I don't know for sure, but I do not think the single player campaign is coming to Game Pass. That is an interesting element to it. I don't know why I would think it would, but in my mind, in my gut, I feel like it should. I don't know. That's interesting. So it goes. Let's see. Before we get to listener mail, guys, I want to do just a little bit of housekeeping. If you're listening at this point, if you're willing to leave a comment in the YouTube section for this week's episode, you'll be entered into a 3-month Game Pass Ultimate giveaway. This is for North American listeners. Guys, I have tried to get codes for other areas, and I don't know how to buy them in the right way. And so North America it is, but if you leave a comment in there, tell me what you are looking forward to playing this holiday once you get some downtime. If you get downtime, just what are you looking forward to playing? That's all you got to do. Enter in for 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate. I will try to give it away on the next show if I don't forget, which I shouldn't forget. Hold me accountable to that, guys. Hold me accountable. because I want to give back to you guys. I have 2 codes of 3 months, 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate to give away. And I just want to thank you guys. I've had a great year in terms of podcasting. I've been able to guest on a lot of shows, meet a lot of people. The show is climbing the charts a little bit in terms of popularity, which is cool. And so as a solo endeavor, it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat. Helps me connect to more people. And I just want to say thank you. Let's do some listener mail. Let's see. Keith L. wrote in an email, and you can always email me, insipidghost@gmail.com. He says, Halo is here. What is your favorite Halo-related memory, accessory, collectible? Cheers from Toronto, Canada. He lists his gamer tag, which has a lot of letters and numbers into it, and it is confusing, but it spells out rocket scientist in a really cool, like, alphanumeric way. Man, my favorite Halo-related memory. I don't know that it's a single memory, but I have very fond memories of playing Halo Reach's weekly challenges, the campaign challenges, the multiplayer challenges with my friends Justin and Carrie. We had a lot of fun playing through those during a dark time in my life, which was a blast. And then Halo 4's campaign was very special. Really enjoyed that. And then most recently, I've really enjoyed, it was in 2020 when we thought the game that Infinite was going to be coming out. My buddies Kev, Joe, and I, we played through all of the Halo campaigns in Master Chief Collection. When there was just co-op, we did 2 people. And then, of course, as we could expand it, we did more people. And that was fun to just play through all of them together and reflect on what we wanted from Infinite at the time. Feels like a lifetime ago because that was when the pandemic had just started. But it was a good way to connect with people for sure. Now, my favorite Halo accessory, how can I not say this incredible 117 Elite 2 controller that came out? It is beautiful. It is beautiful. It's got engravings all over it. I love this Halo controller. It is just wonderful. And so that is probably my favorite accessory. And then collectible, I'm not sure I have a favorite collectible. I've got a lot in my room. I'm looking right now over at the Halo Infinite statues that came out. Love the grapple shot one. And I have the variant from Best Buy with the orange energy sword. That's beautiful and amazing. I love the Halo Reach statue. That is a fantastic one. I've got all these Halo Loot Crate things that I used to get. And I'm building the Mega Bloks Pelican right now, Keith. And that is a really fun build to do. And I've already got the anti-aircraft gun and a Hornet built as well. I want the Wasp. That's the one that's hard to get for anyone that cares to build Mega Bloks for Halo. What a nerd. I can't find the Wasp, right, without paying an arm and a leg. So maybe I can get Mega Bloks to sponsor it. Just send me a little thing, for sure. Yeah, those are kind of just some quick Halo thoughts for you on that one for sure. Court Lalonde, he wrote in asking about Crossfire X. He said, how will Crossfire X fare with an extremely crowded November? I think he went February when he wrote November. It's got a chance, man. As a military shooter, little competition in that particular space. There's a lot coming out in February, man. You got Elden Ring. You got Horizon Forbidden West. You've got, I want to say Gran Turismo, or is that March? You got Dying Light 2. And a few others that are just off the top of my head. It is very crowded, but a free-to-play military shooter might land and might do well. So, I think it's got a shot. I really do think it's got a shot. The last question here comes from Artor Gaming. He says, is PlayStation Spartacus a vindication of Microsoft's approach or a genuine threat to its subscriber base? And how much your answer depends on day and date being for big titles. Let's see. So is PlayStation Spartacus vindication? I'm not sure it's vindication per se, but they're certainly recognizing the value that the subscription model has and that Microsoft has invested in. It makes perfect sense that they would do this. I call it a Game Pass competitor. However, many people, including my seasoned gaming friends, they disagree with that particular descriptor. In their conversations, I hear them saying it's not a Game Pass competitor, and they reference like articles similar to the one Paul Tassi wrote, where it's really just a combination of PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus being put into a tier system. However, in my mind, if you've got a subscription service that's bringing games to the people, it is a competitor for Game Pass because they're going to be money and time based, right? Like you can only have so much time to invest into games, and depending on how far your dollar needs to travel, you might be making tough choices there. So that's why I view it as a competitor. The day and date aspect is certainly the big win for Microsoft, given that they have 23 studios with multiple teams each. They're going to be pumping out games for the next 5 years. They've already kind of truly started now with Forza and Halo. and they've got more coming with Redfall and several others for next year. Starfield is the big one. Redfall is the other big one, but they've got smaller stuff in the works. I'm curious to see kind of the cadence that they can get. I don't know that it's a threat in the traditional sense, but it will be competing for dollars and time, and you can't pretend like that's not a factor. I think it is a testament to the value that subscription services can offer. And for me, it's a good thing. I want PlayStation doing this, and I do want PlayStation to get to a day and date factor because it will force the best of both of them. A lot of people say this isn't a new idea, but having competition between your major players is important. And it is because Microsoft bombed in the Xbox One era that we're getting this incredible run of games from Microsoft now. The incredible amount of value put into Game Pass. They had Outriders and MLB The Show and Back for Blood all dropping day and date into a service that it was a big deal that those games did that. Those were big games in the months that they came out, and with however many incredible indie titles dropping day and date into there. I think with the Gunk kind of wrapping up this December, I am playing the Gunk right now. I can't talk about it yet, but I think that's a good testament to the value of the service. So why shouldn't we be excited for it? I do think it's a threat in terms of money and time, but not a threat to truly tackle the subscriber base. I see no signs of Xbox slowing down, particularly given their infrastructure. xCloud's a big major player. The ability to play via xCloud, people on their Xbox Ones are now going to be able to play more advanced titles via the cloud, depending on their internet connection, and that's going to continue to improve over time. I don't see Xbox Game Pass slowing down much. I do think we'll hear announcements soon after a few more days of Halo Infinite being out. We'll hear numbers about that. Game Pass, we might hear numbers kind of late into this year, early next year, just for where the subscriber base is. But I would say that, you see a nice glass ceiling around, 50, 60 million there, but I'm excited for Game Pass. And I'm excited for PlayStation Spartacus. I want value in my games. So good for them. Good questions, guys. I appreciate it. That is going to be it for this portion of the show before I head over to my interview with the game director of the Gunk, Ulf Hartelius. I'm worried that I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly because we've not spoken just yet, so my apologies to you if I am, my friend. Guys, please, please, please head to iTunes, drop a review, head to Spotify or your podcast service of choice and drop a share on the show. It makes a big difference. And closing out the year as kind of a solo independent thing, I'd like to get more ears and eyes on it. I know it's doing well. I'm proud of the work, but I'd like to see a little bit more growth. And you guys are the best way to help me with that. And I appreciate you all so much. That's it for me. Enjoy the interview with Ulf. Take care, everybody. We are very fortunate now to welcome the game director for the upcoming title, The Gunk from Image and Form, Ulf Hartelius. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, Luke. Thanks for having me.
Are you kidding? I'm so excited to talk to you. There is so much hype and excitement around the Gunk. It's kind of the last big title to be launching in 2021 for the Xbox community. A lot of excitement for it. You have to be both excited and a wreck at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hit it right on the nail there. Yeah, it's been a long year for sure, and it's very exciting to be ending the year like this. I think it's
Kind of
gonna
a
be
fun
a
send
great
off,
game.
right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people are really gonna like appreciate it as one of those like uh, Christmas holiday games. I think it's gonna be a great fit there. Uh, just
Was
relaxed.
that was that
Uh,
always the intention to come out at that time?
no, it wasn't actually. It was actually intention to release in September originally, but we felt that well, you know, we really wanted to give the game some more time,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't a really such a strict deadline that we had to commit to it anyway. It was
Mm-hmm.
more that that was the plan. But we looked at the plan a couple of months before then, and we figured out, do we want to ship like a less good game early or like a better game late? And
Mm,
that choice is pretty easy to make.
gotcha. Well, very
I
cool.
mean, like I have a colleague, Ulf Hartelius, who's been the game director for most of the Steamworld games. He always says that a good game lasts forever.
And he's right. I think
Yeah.
he's right. And the SteamWorld games, of course, what Image and Form is known for, that those are 2D titles with high amounts of critical praise. The Gunk is a 3D title. What was the transition like between 2D to 3D, and why go that route?
Yeah, it's been definitely been a long route for sure. I mean, back when we were making like at least SteamWorld Dig 2, some of us were getting kind of kind of antsy. We really wanted to try and make a full 3D game. I mean, we had made a couple of 2D games by that point. We had gotten pretty comfortable doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Gotten pretty comfortable like doing SteamWorld games. And we really wanted to try something new.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where the 3D came from, and as well as making a game in a new setting, a new IP. So a couple of us kind of branched off while the majority of the team went on to work on Stone Quest. A
Mm-hmm.
couple of us branched off and did a couple of prototypes in 3D to try and familiarize ourselves with it. Some of us have been working like professionally with 3D at past studios. Some of us had been doing it like me, just more on a hobby level.
Mm-hmm.
Some were completely fresh. So we had a very mixed bag. But as a team, we had never done anything. So there was a lot of things to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So the first couple of prototypes we did, for various reasons, well, they didn't really end up as anything we wanted to keep working on.
Mm-hmm.
But we 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 knew that we liked like the potential we had here, and we could definitely see that we as a team could do something here.
Mm-hmm.
We just weren't sure just yet what that would be. And eventually, I'm gonna take a question and run with it here. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and so like eventually, one of those prototypes, we kind of looked at it, and it was this really sprawling thing we had really just stuck one thing onto it after another. And it was like just a mess. But we're like, but there is something here. We
Mm-hmm.
kind of digested it and just cherry picked one particular feature from that
Mm-hmm.
prototype, which was
And
this ability to suck and blow air.
mm-hmm.
And we were like, that feature is pretty unique, and it fits this like it kind of fits the mood we're going for, and we think that there is a lot of interesting stuff we can do with this mechanic that's not really been done in a lot of other games. So we put that like in a new prototype. We just ripped everything else out of it, and then we just made this small like jungle environment and
Mm-hmm.
just filled it with a mist, really simple placeholder mist. And your really your only action was just you could go around this jungle and you could suck up that mist and just reveal everything under it.
Mm-hmm.
And you would find like little pickups, and there was like an enemy ripped from a previous prototype as well.
Mm-hmm.
uh, you couldn't really do much about them. You just kind of collected pickups, avoided the enemy, and but just this act of exploring this environment, even it's like gray boxed, boring shape, but just sucking up the mist, revealing the world under it, and kind of this, it really tickled your fancy, like it tickled the imagination of
Mm-hmm.
what what is under here, and like what but also like from a narrative standpoint, like, so where did this mist come from? What is it doing to this world? um is it neutral? Is it harmful? What's the relationship?
Mm-hmm.
And that was definitely like the starting point for what eventually became the Gunk.
Mm-hmm.
Because then we just extrapolated, just worked from there and tried to see, okay, so this mist, what is it? How do you interact with it? What does it mean when you remove it? Um, and just made it a lot more like cohesive and from both a gameplay standpoint, from a narrative standpoint, we really wanted to marry the two at all times, and from an art standpoint.
Do you feel like you've done that? That's a
I think
terrible
so.
question, by the way.
No, no, but I think so. I think we have pretty successfully married them actually. And that was also like one of my very early ambitions to because to me, like the games that I enjoyed the most and really look up to as like kind of the hallmarks of video games are the ones that really manage to merge all of the different aspects. The games where you can't like separate any singular part of it. You can't just talk about the story in this game or the gameplay here because they're so intertwined. Like my favorite games are Lucas Pope's, both Papers, Please and Return of the Obra Dinn. If you played either of them.
Very story based.
I mean, yes, they're story based in a way, but all of the story. I mean, you encounter all of the story via gameplay,
I
and
see what you mean.
you can't really talk about just the story in either of those games. Because they're so connected with the gameplay. And similarly, I mean, you can't really play them just for the gameplay. They wouldn't be any fun. Wouldn't really mean anything. So that was a very early ambition I had. And so what we did with this game from the very beginning was that we established this little cluster of like directors on the team. So it was me as the game director, coming from a game design background, and I had this really tight collaboration with the art director Tobias Nilsson and the narrative director Peter Brokvist, and we just to ensure that we were all on the same page all throughout development. Because previously, I mean, the Steamworld games have always been very game design driven. Always been gameplay first, which is like 100% valid. Absolutely a good way to make games. And Blizzard does it the same way. But with this game, we wanted something different, and one way of trying to achieve that was to have this much tighter collaboration. So we had this very regular meetings, and all any like major decision would have to like kind of we would have to agree on it, and especially like in the early days during the pre-production, we were still trying to figure out what the game was going to be. We had to really get in sync. It wasn't enough if I wanted something. I had to kind of convince them to want the same thing, you know. We had to see that same star to aim for.
And do you feel? And when you look at the kind of the balance between the two, do you appreciate that collaboration more? Was it something that was productive?
I think so, absolutely. I mean, for this game, I mean, all games are different. I mean, I don't think such a collaboration is as important in, say, a Steamworld D game, where the gameplay is so central. I think like putting a too strong emphasis on narrative in a dig game could be detrimental to the end product. Because I mean, what you gain by this collaboration, you kind of also lose some of the you can't do all the things that you could do if you just focused on one single part of the game and let that decide on and if everything else had to adapt to that part, as has been the case in say the dig games, where like we're just gonna make this really awesome gameplay, and everything else has to fit around that. That's great for that kind of experience.
Gotcha.
But for this one, we wanted something else. We wanted something more atmospheric, something more narrative, something more serious. Uh, we also had the game's audio director until he left the company like partway through the development, but then we brought in like our composer and had a really tight relationship with him directly instead. And similarly, like the music has also been a really central part of the game from the get-go, basically. I think like for this game, for the feeling, this really um, chill, atmospheric, explorative mood that we're going for here, it's been absolutely vital that you know you have this really soothing but also kind of moody music. You have this really evocative like jungle art style in the game. You have the narrative that's like I mean I realize now that of course that when you haven't played it yet, but you have these constant story beats as you explore the game's world between the main character Ronnie as she's talking on the radio with her colleague and best friend Bex, and they have this constantly evolving relationship via the radio communication based on what the player is experiencing. So I mean they're all really tightly knit, and of course like and well you're also playing the game at all times. I mean we have a couple of cutscenes in the game, which is also kind of a new thing for us. But for the most part, we don't want to take the control away from the player. For the most part, we want you to be able to do all the things all the time, um, and and you know this is still like um, this is still a game with a lot of gameplay and a lot of like gameplay features. And I mean the gunk itself, the way you interact with it has to be really tangible and like yeah, like that's it's not just something you do to progress the story. Hopefully, like it's also something you do um, because you enjoy the gameplay part of it as well.
Right.
Uh,
I gotcha. Well, a lot of people were asking, and we had like Kevin. We had three people: Kevin Ainsworth, Antonio Guillen, and Xbox Gamer, all wrote in with the same question. Question rather, asking what was the inspiration for the gunk itself? Like, is it a environmental like health element to it? Was there other stuff? You talked about how the gameplay elements came in, but what was the inspiration for just the concept of the gunk?
Um, so just to clarify, like you mean because since the like kind of the substance in the game that you suck up is also called the gunk, but you mean the game, right?
I think they mean more like your job as Ronnie is to go around the planet
Yeah, yeah.
clearing this gunk, and you can do it and keep the resources, or you can do it and keep the planet beautiful. Where's the inspiration of the two there?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, yes, there is definitely an environmental part of this game from the beginning, and it's kind of funny to look back on it now because I looked back on it as part of doing some retrospective work here at the end, and we started this game just like a month or two before Greta Thunberg's first protest.
Mm-hmm.
Her school strike.
Right.
So it was definitely in that same space that inspired her to do her strike and everything that followed that. That was kind of the same space that inspired us to look at. I mean, I looked at games. I looked at the games we've been making, and again, like I don't want to devalue them because I'm super proud of all of them. But like I wanted to make a game that had some kind of real world connection that you could
Mm-hmm.
play, and you could even after you turned it off, you could kind of look at the world with some some kind of a new eyes, or some kind of new appreciation, or something kind of a game to give you some kind of new perspective for something.
Okay.
And for me, that it was just natural. That would be the environment, and like given the situation we're all in at the moment, and but also given that games haven't really tackled that issue very much yet. I think we're gonna see a lot of games do that. I mean, we're already seeing like the latest Battlefield did it. I think we're gonna see a lot of them.
Well, certainly the Gunk has you going around this beautiful planet, and there's a lot of gameplay opportunities when you're creating flora and fauna the way you do. I mean, the screenshots and the gameplay videos are just gorgeous. And the player is making use of this power glove as she goes. What inspired the power glove per se, and what's it like creating a world as beautiful as that is to use that glove in?
Yeah, so the Power Glove is in a way it's kind of funny because that was also like part of one of the early prototypes for a completely different purpose, uh, and we kind of we got rid of it initially with at the start of the Gunk, and had this tool instead, this vacuum tool. But eventually we didn't like how it looked. That you had to lug this huge thing around, and we wanted the story, and we wanted like everything to be more more tight, more small. Like we had a lot more characters in the beginning as well, but we stripped it all away because we really wanted to focus on like these two characters, and like the isolation on this planet, the isolation of this like the last jungle on this otherwise like destroyed world, and we, and in order to like make everything smaller, we also removed any like gadgets that weren't really necessary, and so that's kind of how we got back to like, okay, so can we place this vacuum as her glove instead, so it becomes part of her, and that way like the very action of sucking up the gunk with it also becomes a lot more personal because she's almost taking it into herself,
Mm-hmm.
and but it also meant that because like the background that these characters come from are that they are this really kind of scrapping they're out exploring this like asteroids and planets at the far reaches of the known world, trying to make a buck, and I mean they're barely getting by. So it also makes sense to us that she has this kind of bulky, probably like secondhand, way after its best before date power glove that she's been using forever. She's been fixing it with duct tape, uh, and I mean they can't really afford all the new shiny stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
it also gave us an opportunity to you see it like in a couple of shots in the game. I'm not sure if we've shown it in any of the promo material yet, only like slightly so, but the power glove is actually like half that arm.
Mm-hmm.
So she occasionally takes it off as she tinkers with it. So she's also had this accident prior to coming here.
Mm-hmm.
That way we could also tie like the power glove to her character. So it was very like it's one of those things that went from like just this tool to something that's really personal.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, like she has this nickname for it, Pumpkin, because she's just so attached to it, like
Right.
figuratively and literally.
Mm-hmm. When you guys are going about designing something like that, does it hinder you or open the world up as far as creating?
I think it definitely it opens it up because you know the more thought you put into something like this, like the Power Glove, like just instead of just some vacuum tool, the more you coalesce that, the clearer the picture of her character and of her of her role in this world becomes. So it becomes also a lot easier to design that world around it, because the more you get to know this character, the easier it is to create a world that fits her. And
When
sorry, just to answer that question before, like how was it to create this world, this beautiful world that she's in. That was also a big part of kind of a reflection on the main character, because she comes from this really industrialized background. She's really unaccustomed to just natural foliage, and here she comes to this overly lush world. So we of course like had to really push that all the time. We really wanted to make this as lush, as beautiful as we could, and to make it a really alien planet, uh, but one that you could still like, and just we really want to stay away from like this just make the grass red, or just make everything luminescent or whatever, some of those sci-fi alien world tropes. We wanted something believable, and but also like pretty unique.
Well, I certainly feel like you've accomplished that. I'm
Yeah,
curious,
thanks.
how long are you expecting players to take in order to complete it? Because it is an open world, or is it level based? Like, what's the critical path
No,
on it?
it's more it's not open world. It's mostly linear.
Okay,
It's got a couple of like minor choices along the way, like, and but there's still, but especially I would say that it's linear, but with a lot of like side paths and optional content along the way.
gotcha,
So
gotcha.
depending on your play style and kind of your experience, uh, is somewhere between 5 and 10 hours.
Okay, cool, nice, very cool, very cool. I have a few more questions for you
Yeah,
on
sure.
this one. Are the two protagonists, Ronnie and Beck, in early coverage? It looks like these two are at odds with what to do on the planet. Are players motivated to take sides with one or the other?
I mean, we don't give the player any like actual choices in the matter,
Mm-hmm.
since you're taking the role of Ronnie, so you kind of, whether you agree with her or not, that
You're
for
still
better or
going
worse,
through and playing out that
you
story.
kind of
Gotcha.
has to stick with her. But I mean, of course, we want players to think about what they're saying, and to think about their arguments themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
And because I mean, neither of them, we are, at least from our point of view, neither of them is like it's not a black or white situation. Both of them have valid arguments,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I mean, you'll encounter like, um, well, similarly to, I mean, you'll encounter this alien civilization that's been on
Mm-hmm.
this planet before, and as you learn more about them, and like the path that led them here, that's not really a black and white path either.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and there are definitely like parallels to reasonings that people are going through today here.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense. I get it. I'm with you. One last kind of round here. The game's coming to Xbox platforms, which means Xbox One through Series S and X, along with PC. Is that a difficult task to make it work, kind of in those cross generational elements, or is it more of a simple thing?
I mean, it would definitely be simpler if we only had like one generation,
Mm-hmm.
because now, I mean, we wanted to make. I mean, we really wanted to make to look next gen with the series consoles,
Mm-hmm.
and really want to push that. but at the same time, I mean, it can't look bad on the Xbox One. I mean, a
Right.
lot of players still have an Xbox One,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of players are gonna play it on that. And I mean, we definitely don't want to give them a worse experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we spent a lot of time just make it look as good as possible on all the platforms. And I mean, yes, it is a challenge, but fortunately, I mean, the tools are are like pretty good to help with this, and we've made some choices along the way to kind of minimize the difficulty, like from with working on it. So I mean, we're using all the same assets on all the platforms. We're using so it's been very pain-free from that perspective.
That's good to hear. Very nice. Awesome.
I
Awesome.
mean,
And
so the game will definitely be very good and look very nice on all the platforms. Uh, but it will, of
well,
course, like look a bit better. It will look the best on the Series X, of course. I mean, that's kind of, or like a really strong PC. That's just the way it is.
being that it's an Xbox show, a lot of people wrote in asking why you chose to go Xbox exclusive. Is there any reasoning behind that?
I mean, the reasoning is pretty simple, I guess, because since we've partnered up with Microsoft for the game,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, as for why we did that, I mean, we talked with a couple of different potential partners, and they were sold on it. They got the hype like really quickly, and have been very positive. Been a really positive partner all the way through, and
Mm-hmm.
given us a lot of help. So I mean, that was also kind of a new experience to a lot of us. But it's been like working with them has been just just great all the way through.
Nice. Very cool to hear. Very cool to hear. Well, and in the last question here, I just want to know what is it that you would point players to? What is it you're hoping players experience with the Gunk? And, a day before or a couple days before release, what are you most excited for people to discover?
I mean, when we started this game, I was most excited about like getting players to kind of explore this world because that's kind of a pet thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But as the game has progressed during development, and as I've kind of seen how players experience it, you know, when we've done playtests, but also like just especially I guess like the last few months as the game has really coalesced into shape, and some of the team members have kind of you know started playing it not just because it's their work, because we tell them that okay, now it's been 2 weeks, you have to try it, now you have to play like this section to make
Right.
sure it looks good and everything. But they kind of they've gotten a lot of people on the team have gotten to the point where like I was just gonna try this thing out, and then like some time passed, and I'm just sucked into this world now,
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
and just posting all this really lovely all those really lovely comments about things they appreciate with the game, which they're kind of surprised about themselves because everyone has been so like, neck deep in it. So now I would say that rather than exploring this world, it's to just experiencing it and be a part in it and just listening, taking it slowly, I guess. Uh, and that which kind of goes back to like I think it's a perfect game for the Christmas holidays, because that it's not a game a game with this length, and it is a Game Pass game, so a lot of people are gonna get it for free, and along with like a lot of other great games. So like had it not been a Christmas, I think a lot of people would try to blaze through it in a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully here you can take some more time with it. I mean, it's not a super long game, but you
Mm-hmm.
can just relax with it because it has you can let it listen to the beautiful music. You can just walk around and explore all the nooks and crannies. And like I said, there are a lot of like stuff to find, and I think it's the kind of world and the kind of story that kind of grows on you, and that works the best if you play it slowly.
Ulf Hartelius, game director for the Gunk. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for letting me come.